Hey everybody, Dave from Adlook here. I've made a new video that will highlight the attention advantage. This is essentially brand awareness and brand lift studies that go along with our campaigns. So enjoy, here we go.
You know that feeling when you look at your digital ad budget and just wonder, where's that all going? It feels like it's just vanishing into thin air, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into why the old rulebook for advertising is completely broken. And more importantly, we'll look at how a totally new approach, one that's all about genuine attention, is completely changing the game. I mean, check this out. This comment from an AdOps pro on Reddit it absolutely nails the anxiety that's gripping the entire industry. It's this constant nagging feeling that a huge slice of your budget, maybe 40% like they said, is just disappearing into some black hole of fraud, bots, and totally useless ad placements. Honestly, it's created a massive crisis of trust.
So what do people do? Well, for a lot of advertisers, it feels like they're just paying for insurance. You know, these ad verification tools, they feel like this super expensive policy you're forced to buy. But deep down, you're not even sure if it's really working. The whole system feels like it's built to just prevent total disaster, not to actually help you succeed.
But here's the thing. The problem is actually way bigger than just fraud. The real issue, the root cause, is this industry-wide obsession with totally broken metrics. For years, the name of the game has been all about one thing: chasing the cheapest impressions possible, the lowest CPMs, and just ticking that little viewability box. And what's the result? Annoying, intrusive ads and just a colossal amount of wasted money.
Okay, so to really get our heads around the solution, we've got to first appreciate just how complex the problem is. I mean, why is measuring something that sounds so simple, like brand awareness, actually so incredibly hard? It's definitely not as easy as just asking, hey, did someone see the ad?
All right, so brand awareness is usually measured in three main ways. You've got top of mind, that's the first brand you think of. Then there's spontaneous, which is any brand you can name without a prompt. And finally, aided awareness, where you recognize a brand when you see its name. Now, you might think these are just three totally separate buckets, but what's really fascinating is that the research shows they are all deeply systematically connected. And this is where the puzzle really starts to make sense. See, the relationship between these different scores isn't a simple straight line. It's what's called a J-curve. What that means is a brand can have super high aided awareness, like, yeah, everyone recognizes the logo when they see it, but have almost zero spontaneous recall. So your ads might be getting your name out there, but nobody's thinking of you when it actually counts. That's a huge problem. I love this analogy from the research paper. It just sums it up perfectly. It's like saying taller children tend to be heavier. Sure, height and weight are related, but they're not measuring the exact same thing. And that's the point. You can't just measure one type of awareness and think you can predict the others. You can't just look at aided awareness and assume you know your top of mind score. Each one tells a totally different piece of the story, and the old way of doing things just misses the full picture.
So, okay, if the old ways of measuring awareness are flawed and incomplete, then what's the answer? What's the alternative? Well, the entire industry is starting to shift away from just counting cheap impressions and is instead focusing on a much more valuable and frankly more accurate currency: genuine human attention.
And that brings us to something called the Attention Unit, or AU for short. This was developed by a company called Adelaide, and it's a really cool metric. It uses a machine learning model to predict the chances that any given ad placement will actually capture attention and drive a real business outcome, whether that's brand awareness or an actual sale. It's a huge leap beyond that simple question of, was it seen, to the much more important question, did it matter?
So how does this actually work in the real world? Well, Adlook has teamed up with Adelaide to build this really powerful new way of buying ads. It's basically a three-step process. First, every single potential ad placement gets scored on its probability of getting attention. Next, and this is the crucial part, Adlook's AI targets only the high-scoring placements before you even bid. This means advertisers can now buy media that meets a guaranteed quality level, making sure every single dollar is working as hard as it possibly can.
I mean, just think about what a fundamental shift in strategy this is. We're moving away from the old reactive model, buying a bunch of cheap impressions and just crossing your fingers, to a truly proactive one. A model where you only invest in high-quality attention right from the get-go. It's all about getting rid of the waste before you even spend a single penny. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds fantastic in theory, but does it actually work? Does it deliver real results? Well, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. Let's just dive in and look at the data from some major real-world studies. So in a massive study with an industry leader, Magna Media Trials, they found that optimizing video ads with Adlook's pre-bid technology led to get this, a 65% increase in attention scores. That is not a small bump, folks. That is an absolute game changer.
And believe it or not, it gets even better. That very same study found that when you take those high-attention ads and you place them in a relevant context, the lift in ad awareness just skyrocketed. We're talking a 131% increase. That's more than doubling the impact. Just incredible.
And it's not just on one platform either. The results are just as powerful everywhere else. A partnership with Comscore, another huge name, showed that when you apply this attention-first approach to connected TV, you can generate a 10 times lift in purchase intent. Not 10%, 10 times. That's huge.
And this isn't just happening in academic studies either. We're seeing this across the board with Adlook's actual clients. We're talking things like a 136% uplift in that really hard-to-get unaided brand recall, a 40% drop in cost per acquisition, and a 5 times increase in site visitors coming from display ads. I mean, come on. The numbers really do speak for themselves.
See, this is about so much more than just a new metric. It's really a whole new philosophy for building campaigns that are sustainable and, frankly, future-proof. So the big question is, how can you adapt your own strategy to win in this new landscape?
The big takeaway here is crystal clear. The future of advertising, the way to actually win, is to move beyond these outdated, easily gamed benchmarks. In today's incredibly crowded digital battleground, there's only one thing that matters. Attention is king. It's the one metric that ties directly to real, tangible business results. So what are the key shifts you can start making right now? Well, it all starts with unifying your campaign goals and planning around attention, not just a pile of empty impressions. From there, it's about simplifying your tech stack to get rid of those data silos and really rethinking your media briefs for a world where people are watching on a dozen different screens. And finally, the most powerful step of all, using AI to do all the heavy lifting for you, to automatically find and optimize for those golden high-attention placements.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one really critical question to ask yourself about your own campaigns. Is your ad budget just buying millions of impressions that might never even be seen, or is it actually earning the attention of your audience? Because as we head into 2025 and beyond, the answer to that one question, well, that's what's going to define your success.
All right, there it is. So if you want to stop wasting your ad dollars, get in touch with me today. I'd be happy to tell you how we can help you with that. Take care.